Nice.
Okay, we're rolling.
Cool. So hey guys, welcome to Sydney.
Thank you.
So first, Tommy, I mean, Hansel and Gretel, witch hunters, where did it come from?
It was my favorite fairy tale growing up. And it was the one I had it on a cassette. I listened to it when I went to bed, which probably wasn't a good idea because it gave me nightmares. But people forget how scary those stories are and how violent they are. And you can hear the witch screaming, clawing inside of the oven, trying to get out, burning alive, and it's just stuck with me. And the first time I remember pitching the idea was when I started to film here in Australia. I started at Bond University on the Gold Coast, and we had a pitching class where you go up to the teacher and you have a minute to sell him an idea. He pretends to be a Hollywood producer. And I pitched, that's the first time I remember telling this idea to anybody, and I said, well, it's Hansel and Gretel 15 years later, and they're grown up to be bounty hunters for witches. And he said, Tommy, don't ever mention that idea again until you're in front of a Hollywood producer, and I guarantee you will sell it. And I pitched it to them, and they wanted it. But I just thought, the story is just, it's like a great first act of a film because it leaves the character in such a fun place. So for me, it was just taking that world and those characters and adding, I guess, humor and action.
So, Kevin, when you heard the pitch, were you hooked?
We were, but it was also because I had just come back from Sundance, where I saw a crazy midnight screening of his film Dead Snow.
Yeah.
So it was the combination of we sought him out. We were like, who's this young guy that's making a great film? So we tracked him down. He had just gotten an agent out of that Sundance experience, and so I think we were his first meeting. So yeah, true to his film school teacher's advice, we sold it. We bought it hook, line, and sinker, and then we sold it to Paramount.
So Tommy, I mean, compared with Dead Snow, I mean, obviously you're working with a lot bigger budget now, Hollywood stars. I mean, how do you find the experience?
Absurd, of course. In the first 2 weeks of the shoot, I was just pretending to know what I was doing.
Now you tell me.
No, I mean, it is actually quite similar. The problems are the same, the challenges are the same. It's just like it's magnitude by 10. And of course, there's a new element with the studio, which I hadn't experienced before. In Norway, when you make a movie, it's just you and the producer, and that's it. So that was new to me, but they really believed in the idea, and they gave me a lot of money for me, what I'm used to, and it was a surreal experience. Sorry, seeing those sets being built in the middle of the forest in Germany, and seeing the candy house come to life. It was just so huge to what I'm used to, because in Norway, when you make a movie and write a script, you always have to compromise big when you're actually shooting it, because you can never afford doing it exactly the way you wanted it. But here, if I wrote it a certain way, there it was right in front of me. It was pretty cool. And but the actors are great. It's all about, in the basis of it all, telling the story and trying to get the script across. But it was a surreal and fun experience for me.
And so, Kevin, obviously you're working with Tommy, who made Dead Snow, an incredibly gory film, and now this obviously had that potential. I mean, as a producer, seeing or thinking how far could you go with this in terms of violence and blood and guts? I mean, did you want Tommy just to kind of run with it?
I think for Will and for Adam and for myself, we wanted Tommy's vision, hands down. Like, we wanted the guy from Dead Snow to make his version of Hansel and Gretel. And a lot of the issues that came up along the way with the studio and with the making of the film were about balance.
Yeah.
So it was never about changing Tommy's vision into one path or another, but how do you balance gore and action and comedy, which very few filmmakers can do, and as a young filmmaker, he's doing it very successfully, we think. But the goal is to make it entertaining. So that actually was very helpful through the process, because it was never about being extreme for extreme's sake. And I think that holds true when you see the movie, that even in some of the most extreme scenes, there's a sense of fun to what happens with the sheriff and the troll, or when the tracker blows up on Gretel, or some of the things that could have been handled differently in different hands. But in Tommy's hands, they always felt like they were fun movie popcorn moments.
And I mean, so whereabouts in the process did Jeremy and Gemma come into the...
Jeremy came in first. Yeah, Paramount invited me, after they were happy with the script, invited me over to start casting it. And on the plane ride over, I saw Hurt Locker, and I was blown away, as everybody else was. So I said to my producer, we got to get him the script. And he read it, liked it, and you meet him, and you realize he's a really funny guy as well. He has a great sense of humor, which was important for this film. And I think Jeremy liked the idea of showing a more humorous side of himself as well. So he came aboard pretty early, and then it was about finding Gretel, and I saw her in a film called The Disappearance of Alice Creed,
Yes.
which she was amazing in, and we got them together, and they just gelled and clicked straight away, and we had our combo, and I couldn't be happier. It's just, you know, when you cast a brother and sister, they have to like each other. You have to. There has to be something natural there, and they loved each other from the first moment.
And just watching the film, it's fantastic the amount of physical effects that are in there, and the witch's makeup, and Edward. So, I mean, was that always your intention to have as much in-camera effects as possible? Yeah.
It's the style that I loved growing up, and you know, in Norway when you make movies, can't afford to do anything else. You have to do it in camera. But especially the Troll was important to me to do it with animatronics. I've seen, you know, obviously the Del Toro's movies, which especially in Hellboy, where he used those creatures, and I just thought they look amazing, and it gives the movie some, I don't know, some tech. Especially in this film, you're doing a fairy tale world. You have witches and trolls. It's important to ground it wherever you can, and I think CGI often gets too glossy and perfect. So I just knew I wanted Edward to be an animatronic creature. You can feel him, you can touch him, you can shoot him in location, and you can have the actors actually interact with a troll on set, which is vital. But most of the way, he just looks amazing, and I'm really happy with him, and the witches too, and effects as much as I could, you know, real effects, blood and guts flying wherever we could, and that's important to me, and what I like. I love movies that still do that when they can.
We have lots of pictures with Tommy with buckets of blood. More blood, more blood.
I mean, so Kevin, were you like, yes, I want you to run with it, and you completely behind the whole
absolutely
effects line?
Everybody at the company knew from the get-go that Tommy wanted a real creature. He wanted real effects. I think Jeremy's talked about it in some of his memories of the movie when he shows up at Stone Circle. That big Stone Circle set was for real, and the witches are flying in and out on wires for real, and people are traveling by him, and he's doing his fights. If a Siamese twin rips in half, she's doing it for real. Like, all of that stuff kind of happened on the day. So all kind of polished up and augmented in post-production, but for the most part, they got to react to real things. And for Gretel and Edward, it was clearly key to that relationship working. You know, he really carries her, well, with a little bit of help. And when he lays her down at the Trollbrook, it's a very intimate scene, and I don't think it would have been the same if it was her acting with a tennis ball.
And so, Tommy, I mean, which films kind of influenced you during the making of this film in terms of kind of visuals and what you wanted to achieve?
I would say mostly when it comes to tone, actually, was especially Sam Raimi and Peter Jackson, their early stuff. I actually remember seeing those movies for the first time and being blown away how they could get away with that amount of gore, and blood and gore and guts and action and horror, but still it ends up being just a fun movie. And I remember watching Braindead and being blown away, and because it's not just humor, but it's a very unique sense of humor as well. It's his sense of humor, nobody else's. And I've always been very influenced by that. And Dead Snow was my obvious love letter to those films, and but I still think this is influenced by that mixture of tones and how they pull it off.
And Kevin, obviously, Will Ferrell is one of the producers of this film, and not necessarily a name you expect to see as a producer of a gory witch film. I mean, what was he like to work with as a producer?
Will and Adam are great. Again, I've worked with them for several years, and Tommy's become I think part of the family at Gary Sanchez through the making of this film and others that we plan to make with him. But Adam McKay and Will Ferrell are just they're great, funny guys, but they're also lovers of film.
Yes.
So whether it's a film like Hansel and Gretel Witch Hunters or others that the company may do, I think this shows kind of where the company is branching out into.
Yeah, they just knew what kind of movie I wanted to make from day one. They did. They understood and I like the idea of that. So, and they've been great producers.
All he's asked for back is a cameo in Anchorman 2. So we got to figure that out. So we got to figure out how to kill him.
I can do anything. I can change the paper on the copier in the background somewhere.
Cool, guys. I think my time is up. So thank you very much.
Great. Thanks.
Thank you.
Cool. Thank you, guys.
Nice meeting you.
Nice meeting you.
Nice meeting you.
Thank you very much.
Thanks.
Have a good premiere this evening.
Thanks.